Welcome to your traffic report with Andi James. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast with your boy Jared Naidu at the Capital GPT podcast. And today we have Andi James. As you've heard, welcome to your traffic report with Andi James, our special guest today. And so honored to have you on the podcast. So if you guys don't know Andi James, she's basically been on East Coast Radio and the traffic department side, and then now she's moving over to the content creation space. She's been killing it over the past few years, then going into styling and fashion and content. And yeah, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Andi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for even thinking about me.
No, no, like your story is so inspiring. So hence why I was like, let me reach out to Andy, because I think when I saw you post something recently on Girl Dinner, you posted that. I was like,
Yeah.
that's brilliant idea of you starting something. Talk us through what Girl Dinner is first. I think just so people can know what it's about.
Okay. So, girl dinner number one initially was to kind of like attend to the content creator, Durban content creator lonely epidemic, if I can call it that, just because we were noticing, or I was noticing, and I would point it out on social media, like, oh my gosh, if you guys noticed that certain brands aren't working with Durban influencers or Durban content creators, depending on what type of brand it is. And if it does happen, it's like few and far between.
Yeah.
So initially it was to create like a little clubhouse where it was going to be called the fashion table, but it sounded so, UKZN, but it sounded so university. Yeah. So I was like, okay, no, we can't call it the fashion table. But that is something I'm going to work on towards Durban Fashion Week and South African Fashion Week to create something called the fashion table.
Nice.
In I thought about it like initially the idea is to gather these people who love fashion and who are content creators into the same space where they can where we can enjoy good food, good vibes, good music, to create something that's obviously we're not being invited in. So we weren't being invited in these spaces anymore. It was Cape Town, it was just Joburg, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So I feeling left out. So I was like, oh, let me just create some vibes for us as well. And it was going to be called that. And that was 2 years ago when I had the idea. And then I met with another fashion and let me call her content creator, lifestyle content creator based in Durban, Abby Downs. And we met up for lunch and we were just chatting. And I'm like, oh no, once I had this idea and I initially wanted to call it fashion table.
Yeah.
But then I decided, actually it should be called golden app from the trend that came from TikTok. So there's something you I was like, oh, actually, let's have something called girl dinner. And it's just basically it's a sit down kind of situation. You commune and come together with people who have the likeness of you, same likeness in that space, who are in the same space as you, who you can potentially work with, who you can create community with, friendship, etc. So Abby wasn't actually the person who was just like, yes, let's go ahead and let's do it. Because initially I wouldn't have, I mean, my last year of varsity at the in psychology and law, it's very hard. So I just don't have capacity for it at all. But she's just been amazing. And she's like, no, it has to happen. So it's happening. It's happening on the 29th of June, 2025. And it's going to be our first one. We do hope to have more than just one. So maybe it's going to start being like a little bit of a club situation. So very 60s sales.
Perfect.
Whereby, yeah, so whereby we will have it up once in a while. So that's actually how the idea came about, was to address the scarcity. Yeah.
Well, you preach to the choir, right? Because like to me and I started Durban content creators like years back, where we saw the exact same thing, and we're like little community with Durban content creators to grow, network, share, grow is the catchphrase, and we basically wanted creatives to collaborate with each other, have a network, have people to come together. Because we've seen it in Cape Town, we've seen it in Joburg, but nothing really in Durban. And yeah, thank you for picking it up. I think me moving to Cape Town, we being busy with work and stuff, we didn't really push the up in content creators. Uh, I did a podcast. Hey,
I'm saying you didn't push it all that much anymore once you came down.
I mean, like we wasn't. It wasn't a money project, right? So it was for
Yeah.
creators for creatives. So obviously we have bills
Yeah.
to pay, so we need to put time and attention to bringing income for ourselves before we could do anything else. Tim and I did a podcast recently, and we said that I came out and I said, like, if we did Durban content creators started now, we would probably succeeded far greater than what we done then, because of, I think, people seeing the need for influencers now than back then.
Yeah.
I think the trend wasn't there yet.
100%.
We saw what's happening in the US and we tried to model it then. But what generally happens in South Africa is whatever happens in America 5 years later happens in South Africa.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So that's what we see.
100%.
Yeah. But I know that Golden is going to be a huge success. Yeah. I definitely see that.
I hope so. I hope so. But unfortunately, I don't have capacity, so I won't handle it. I'll hand it over to somebody else to do it because the whole point of yeah, yeah, I don't have capacity. Unfortunately, yeah, at school, I really don't.
Yeah. So I think let's go into your career. Let's get into you. Firstly, how did you get into East Coast Radio? Because listen, everyone that is from Durban or around the Durban area knows East Coast Radio. So how did you get into doing the traffic for East Coast Radio? And what did you learn from it? Did you enjoy it? What was the process like? Yeah, talk us through that.
Oh gosh. Okay, so yeah,
Oh, it's so smart. It looks like it's in speeds for needed for it to tell the story.
need it. How it came about was I was desperate. So I was studying civil engineering and I was in my second year and I needed a way out because I knew that I would not succeed in this. There's no way in hell that I was going to be successful and there's no way in hell I was going to enjoy this. And there's no way in hell I was going to be taken seriously in the industry as a Black South African woman working alongside German engineers. Okay, there's no way in hell. So I wanted to go with something that I really, really liked and I wanted, but somebody else had actually instilled that in me, not me at all.
Right.
I hadn't even think about radio before. I used to work for. So let me go back to high school. Finished high school, moved out of home, worked as a receptionist at uh, a hotel, and at the hotel there was this particular person. Oh gosh, I forgot what the term is, but he ran the floor of the hotel. There is a name for it. And pardon?
Floor manager, if I'm not mistaken.
Floor manager, right? No,
No?
that's store. No, that's store.
Okay.
There's a name. Yeah.
There's maybe so or something, yeah. But it's, yeah.
There's a term because they actually got school for this. They got varsity for this. I need to give a proper name. I'll find it.
The quality.
Exactly. So then he said to me, "Your voice sounds really good." This is way before my voice actually had matured.
Okay.
And your voice does sound. Can I just can I be blunt? Because I'm a very blunt person. I work in radio, so
Of course.
I hope the interview. Yeah, I work in radio, so we're different people there. And he said to me, no, listen, your voice sounds great. Let's go for it. You should do radio. And I'm like, oh, I don't even know where do you even go? And there's a lot of community radio stations and a lot of people don't know that there are community radio stations unless you are actually looking for it. And I wasn't looking. And he took me to, I think it was radio. I think it was some Vuma. I'm not too sure. I think it's called Vuma FM. What? It was still a community radio station. That's how long ago. That's how old I am. It was a community radio station back then. And I went there and they're like, no, we can't take you. And that was my first no. And instead of backtracking a little bit, I went, why the no? So then I had to find out what radio wants, what radio was looking for. At the time, radio wasn't so integrated. There wasn't English and Zulu. There wasn't English and Xhosa. It was always just one language. You couldn't mix or anything like that. And those are black radio stations. White radio station, dominantly white radio stations, still stick with English.
Yes.
And I'm Xhosa speaking, so I'm not too good with Zulu, and also my tone and accent and words, it's completely different. So that was my first no. Went to Gagasi FM, another no, and then eventually I found a community radio station called DYR. It's where most of us come.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I went there and I didn't know how to get in. I didn't know who to ask. I didn't know who to speak to. There was no, receptionist. There was no management. These kids were just trying to figure it out on their own. At the time, it was run by a guy called Andy Kerr, who's now is currently in jail for murdering his mom. We're from Nike.
Man wanted the insurance money, man. Crazy.
Those for the insurance money. Oh, yeah. So he was running the place, and how I actually got in was because my name is Andi James, and his name is Andy Kerr, and he was doing the breakfast show at the time.
Good.
And and I had gone into a meeting that they were having without knowing they were having a meeting. I just thought it was like a community chat to teach people about radio. And I sat there, and then they asked me to put my name down for registration. And I wrote there Andi James. And they had mistaken Andy Kerr for Andi James for a slot on the show. And that's how I got breakfast.
It's sticking.
Literally, that's how it was a complete mistake. And then when he gets there, he's like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "I'm Andy." And he's like, "Oh, I'm Andy." And so we had the breakfast show for a short while. And then I moved on to do the drive. And that was about 8 months from varsity to leaving varsity to going into radio in that sense. Mind you, it's coming to radio station, so you're not getting paid.
Yeah.
You're broke, no money. Mom is mad at me because this was her win. I was going to be a civil engineer. So um and then the manager of the talent manager of East Coast Radio was listening to the show at the time and sent me an email and was like, "Hey, what do you think?" I didn't see the email, by the way. I decided myself that I was just going to go to East Coast Radio and just send my CV and force my way in, and I did. And only to find out that he had already tried to poach me months before.
Wow.
And that's how it worked, and I've been at East Coast Radio ever since. Yeah,
Wow.
it's
Insane.
a long story.
Insane story. Like if you never went into DYR as Andy, like you wouldn't know where you would be now. Maybe you'd have forced your way somewhere else because that's what your dream was. But just insane of like how things align. I think you also putting yourself out there and like trying to be so intentional with following the plan, the goal that you had was to be on radio because that was the dream that was given to you, and you follow that and you've made it work ever since. So big ups to you on that. Um, what advice you have to give to people that now want to get into radio? Do you think like firstly advice is like should you get into radio, and secondly if you genuinely want to get into radio, how would you do it? How would you do it starting now?
Um, well, I would say it's a lot harder now getting into radio than it was back because we were all still green behind the ear. Although radio has been around since Jesus Christ days, um, it just the medium itself and where it was going and developing and new talent and the whole trying to be inclusive. Well, they were all green behind the ear. So at the time, everyone was willing to take anything and talent or talentless. And with with the economy and the environment right now, you going into radio, you gotta go into radio young.
Right.
I know, or you have to go into radio as a hobby. Unfortunately, it's not England and it's not Australia where we can buy a 5-bedroom house. The salary. It's no longer like that. If you are thinking that that's where it's going to be, you would have had to start radio over 15, 20 years ago, unfortunately. But if you're starting radio now and the economy right now, I would suggest you are going into radio because you want the experience and you love it and you're young. I always say, like, your youth are your best years.
Yeah.
Between between 19 and 27 are your best years to push whatever it is that you want to do without the fear of failure and without the fear of being reprimanded for your failure.
Mm.
So, I would say getting into radio right now might be a little bit harder than it was back then for us. I say back then like I'm 50 years old. Uh, but that's how fast media moves. And I would say it's a lot. It's a lot. Back when I was in varsity, there was no radio studies, by the way. So radio studies are new, and media studies were very different. We just had Twitter and Facebook. So, how to get into radio? Number one, find yourself a community radio station nearby. There are always community radio station. It's part of the development, government development and whatnot. And find yourself a community radio station. If you cannot find yourself a community radio station, you have a cell phone. You are going to pretend you have a radio station of your own and you have your own show. You're going to go on YouTube because that's the new university. And you are going to go and you're going to watch all the UK based and Australian based radio presenters because here's the secret. All radio in South Africa uses critics from the UK and from Australia. Okay, so they base everything through them. Okay, every talent, anything talent, whatnot, doesn't matter. I don't care who you think you like from South Africa, who's a radio presenter, they're not going to care. Just as long as you sound a little bit like Australia or the UK. So you're going to find yourself a presenter from there and you're going to learn from that and you're going to learn from the tips. You're going to see how they do the segues. You're going to learn how to do the intros and the outros, how to forward a song, etc. And you are going to present exactly, obviously, with your bit of personality because personality is everything. And that is how you're going to do radio if you cannot find yourself a local radio station. It's just things that I wish I knew.
Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
of course, you're giving us like intel like that people don't really know. Like the thing of
Yeah.
the UK and and Australia, I don't think people know that that's kind of what they look for. And I think you're spot on with this YouTube now. Like create a portfolio for yourself, do a podcast for yourself, do YouTube videos, and have those segments that's there, and that's your portfolio that you can present to whoever you're trying to pitch. So I think that's a brilliant idea. Um, yeah, I think you spoke about earlier about like, listen, like you're gonna get into radio, but there's not that much income with this economy. Um, and I think with that, seeing you um, do radio, but then also venturing to the influencer space and the fashion space. And I think you've went spot on with that, where you've leveraged your you being on East Coast radio and people knowing your name to then growing your personal following. And I think that's what people don't do. Because if you grow your following there, um, it's sort of like as you have sportsmen and sportswomen where they may not get paid a lot of money for playing a certain sport, but they grow their following and then they get brand deals, and that's where they're bringing income from. And I think you done so brilliantly, like, and still growing daily on your personal brand of, listen, I've been here, I'm leveraging that, I'm growing my content, my space, and even developed a new brand in the fashion space, not traffic. And you've done so well with that. And yeah, talk us through venturing into that space in you being if the content creation space, also the fashion space. Yeah.
Mm, oh, well, fashion is what I've always wanted to do, right? Radio was somebody else's idea. Like I said, the guy from the hotel. And I did get into it, and I had no worries going into radio because it's a lot more fun than,
Yeah.
laying down pipes. So, fashion is always something I always wanted since the movie The Devil Wears Prada, and I think a lot of people can,
Yeah, yeah.
get inspiration from that. But because of the environment, again, I've always been a person who looks outside. Okay, cool. Should I make the move now or not? There was no such thing as a stylist, and what the hell is that? Like, and unless you work with your David Clow, and also he was his own stylist. So fashion was very hard, and it was very hard for getting into, and no one is going to pay for fashion, especially if your mother's a domestic worker coming up and you're going to go into fashion. Are you insane? We're already struggling, lady.
Yeah.
So, exactly. It's a really is it's a struggle. So styling, I've always wanted to get into, and I started doing my own little outfits, etc. at home. And my husband was always like, "Yes, you should do it. You should go ahead and try it." It was heartbreaking in the beginning. I can definitely admit that there was a sense of like, I want to have this whole American vibe and European vibe in terms of the style, and to work with like the Coco Chanel's. Okay, I would never work with Coco Chanel. Work with brands like Umakosa,
Yeah.
Tebe Makuku, and whatnot. But we also have to understand that I only have 11,000 followers, and it took me a long time to get there. And brands don't really see that worth. Even if you got 11,000, that's 11,000 people. That's a lot of people.
7,000 people are a lot.
It's 100 people in the room is a lot. Are you insane? You know? So going into fashion now that's truly a passion, right? But that's not the only passion I have. I have many passions, and I think that's always a problem, is having many passions. Is like you always are crossroads. You never know when to make the next move, where to go next. There's always another idea. There's always another plan. Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, Plan D. You name it. So finally, I decided, okay, cool. I'm going to go into fashion. I had the idea of starting to collaborate with a lot of influencers based in Durban, and I'm so surprised that they were willing. One of them being Valencia, and she had, I believe, 10,000 followers back then, of 8,000. I was like, wow, she's 8,000. That's a lot, for somebody starting out in fashion. And then for about a year and a half straight, I had committed to myself that after work, I'm going to come home, I'm going to do an outfit or two. I'm going to post it. And that's exactly what I did. For about 6 months, I did that. And then on weekends, I'm like, wait a minute, I've got weekends. Saturdays, I'm going to give 30 minutes of my time. I'm going to plan my outfits during the week. And then on Saturday, 8:30, 9:30, pump these outfits out on social media. Boom.
Mhm.
And that started. The followership started coming in and whatnot, but I was still not getting brand deals. And I was still not attracting brands and
Yeah.
attracting anything of a sort. I wasn't getting invited to the events and whatnot. And it made no sense half the time, because I'm like, I'm a fashion influencer, I'm a fashion blogger, I'm a fashion enthusiast. So why aren't you looking at me, But it all comes with time, and it really does. Like with my radio, it came with time. I was mistaken for somebody else, and the door opened for me, and then boom, I was in. And then we've got, for example, with fashion, it came at the right time, because I don't think I would have been able to push fashion back then when I was trying to find income coming in, and fashion doesn't bring me income. So then I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna grow my fashion base. How do I become a stylist? Again, I didn't push myself into becoming a stylist. I didn't approach anybody. I'm like, oh, I'm a stylist. No. Again, it was one of those Andy versus Andy James, Andy Kerr situations, whereby again somebody came to me and said, "Hey, what do you think about styling for G Star Raw?" What? Are you insane? It's G-Star Raw. I don't know anything about G-Star Raw. I'm not a stylist. I didn't study this. And then you start to notice that although you are not getting the brand deals, you're not getting recognition from the back house of these brands. I'm going to call it the back house of these brands, but you are getting recognition from people like, for example, the editor-in-chief of Glamour magazine, and you're getting recognition from or Tebe Makoko himself. You're getting recognition from the imprint designer. You're getting recognition from all these designers and these brands, these big guys. Yes, you're still not getting the income, 100%. That's fine. And then I learned a couple of months or some back that I'm not actually an influencer at all. I'm just a fashion enthusiast.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's why I get the styling gigs instead of the branding gigs, because I'm not influencing people to buy, because I'm still going to thrift. I just came back from a thrift session like 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
I'm not in, no one's going to be like, oh my gosh, let me go find that at Zara. No, because I'm not pushing
Yeah.
over, over consumption and buying, being gluttonous in any way. I'm pushing you to find identity and style and enjoyment more than consumption and buying too much and having all these unnecessary pieces, etc.
Yeah.
And that's all. I guess that's how I moved into fashion, was just following. Again, I just keep following my dreams. I keep following where I have the urgency to go.
Hmm. Sure. That's actually crazy. I think you did spot on as to like why you wasn't getting branded. It's because it's where you position yourself, right? You positioned yourself for the people that want to look good, but they don't have the budget for it. So let's take your budget and find a really dope fit. We'll go thrift it, um, and just create those spaces. Where do you thrift in Durban actually? The-
Mm.
Oh, you get like that.
Okay.
You I think in Durban I didn't find any stuff, but that was like obviously 3 years ago when I wanted to thrift and
No, no, no. That's because you're looking for thrift stores.
yeah. I go to town.
No, I'll go to town. I go
He's and stuff and just keeping the word of cash and let's go.
just so a cash, like you kick it out the arms. Yeah,
I know.
that's at it's the best. It's honestly the best. Like I've just found a a Jimmy Choo bag from town,
Okay, okay.
and I found literally like and then Louis Vuitton bag today, and I also found a Jigsaw. There's a brand called Jigsaw. I think it's a UK based brand. Um, and so I threw from Victoria Street in central Durban, because all that stuff comes from Ghana
Right.
with all the, yeah, with all that, it's, yeah, oh, dark, you know, usual. But that's where I thrift, because I do believe in never discarding leather and never discarding materials like cotton and wool. Anything that comes from life must never be discarded.
Yeah. That's so inspirational because I've worked with a designer in Cape Town called Lani Rani, which her name's Shamara. So she basically is a designer that makes sustainable clothes. So everything is material wise from like discarded leather or that type of stuff, or then um run down material. You know, as the factories will like run down patterns on it. So she'll reuse that like clothing, that type of stuff. So I worked with her. We've done things like she done like um Cape Town Fashion Week, SMS Fashion Week, and all this. I've been with her. I've done some shoots and stuff. So I think it's really inspiring, and I think people are slowly moving over to the sustainable way and stuff. Even though I think it is a bit pricier in the beginning, but I think as the trend starts going and more companies are doing it and stuff, then it'll be a lot more affordable. Um, Talk us through you doing fashion, right? And you enjoying fashion and you going into these like corporate spaces and stuff. Does you dressing up and being fashionable, does that affect your confidence in the workspace and stuff? Because I think not everyone has that mindset of, listen, like if I dress up, I'll be more confident, I'll do better at work. How do you what's your take on that?
There are actual studies on that. I'd like to share the study, but I'm so bad with names. I'm so bad with names. But there are studies that show that dressing a certain way does affect how your mind reacts to things. For example, a person who's a scientist is not going to wear a bikini to work. you're going to wear a coat, and you're going to wear that white coat specifically, and
Yes.
that's going to make you feel like you are in the right space for it. So clothing plays a humongous role psychologically in how you represent yourself and how you see yourself, and how the brain sees itself as well.
Yeah.
So I believe in clothing and looking good. And because of work and culture and the work culture, we have taken away from dressing up and looking good and representing and presenting ourselves really well. But culturally, over the millennia, we've seen that over centuries, we've seen that dressing well is ideal. It's also, it shows status, it shows where you come from, it shows culture, it's respectful to
Hmm.
your family, it's respectful to yourself, it's respectful to the people around you, and it is so important. But again, because of work culture, we've truly stepped away from it. So it is important to dress while it does say how you think about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it becomes to that.
Yeah.
Cape Town work culture is very different, right? So like you could go into a meeting with shorts and sandals. Like it's a completely
Mm.
laid back type of environment. But I do see the benefits of let's dress up, let's feel good about ourselves when we get into these meetings. Because when I wear formal, I feel like okay, I'm ready to like close a business deal. You know what I mean? Like I
Exactly.
have a button up, I have my formal shoes on, my formal pants, and and you're ready to take on the day. Um, let's go through the quick fire questions. So there's a new segment called Quick Fire Questions. So Annie's gonna be the first guest on the podcast that we're gonna do quick fire questions on. So I think I'm gonna go through 5 questions. Yeah, I have some of
Okay.
the questions ready. Um, yeah, man. Okay, let it load, let it load. There we go. Found it. Quick fire questions with Andy James. I love it. Okay, there we go. So, first question. 3 fashion items you can't live without.
Three
The
fashion items I can't live without:
Yes.
a
This-
heel,
Yeah, yeah.
a denim jean,
Hmm?
a heel, jeans.
Okay. One more.
Oh,
This is quick fire, Andy. This is quick fire.
okay. A heel, a jean, and a thrifted leather bag.
Okay, that's fire. That's fire. I can see it. I can see it. Okay, so then you should answer this question easily. So then, heels or sneakers?
Heels.
Yeah, I'll figure from that first question. What's one outfit that always makes you feel powerful?
Ooh, a red dress.
The red dress.
A
Okay.
red dress.
Okay.
A red dress.
Like those Hollywood
Yes.
movies where like you're getting ready for like date night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Perfect. If you could style anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. If I could style anybody in the world, who would be and why, it would be Tyler.
Tyler.
It would
Why?
be Tyler. Number one, she has been kind of like forced in the space of replacing Rihanna. And as we know, Rihanna is a fashion icon to the gods. And she's been a fashion icon since the 2000s.
Yeah.
So I think it would be great for her to kind of like being forced in the position of being compared with Rihanna. It would be also brilliant for her to finally be also compared fashionably as well. Right now, she's just wearing rags and I don't know, rags and fur.
So Andy James.
Whoever her stylist is should quit.
There's your spot. You see your spot. Tyler, Andy James wants to style you on your next show in Durban.
100. I mean, 100. Not for shows. I don't care for shows. Yeah.
Perfect. That's the segment for quick
Oh,
five.
awesome.
Yes. I think I should do more next time. That was fun. Okay, so coming back to um to you getting into the media space, right? You getting into radio and then into fashion. Um, what was your family's reaction, right? Because I think even from my side, as coming from an Indian household, me going into like the media space, they're like, "What are you doing? Like, how are you gonna make money from it?" And I think it's a similar type of situation with you coming from a black home. Uh, what was your family's reaction? Not only like your mom, but maybe your aunts, your uncles, your granny. Uh,
Initially, starting out, I'm very open-minded. And remember, I was doing civil engineering, so she already told everyone in church that I want to be a civil engineer. So when I had decided to drop out of varsity, I didn't tell her that I was dropping out. I just dropped out and carried on with my life.
mm,
Like it was nothing. And then I told her that I'm in radio doing community radio and without money. So that was definitely hard on her. And then I got into East Coast Radio. It wasn't. She didn't. I don't know. I don't know if I can say she didn't receive it well, or she just didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Um, but she's never listened, not
oh,
once.
wow.
So it's not. I don't think it's not a bad thing at all. I think it's just. I don't know. I don't think they just don't care. Unless you're a doctor and you
Oh yeah,
you study. Yeah, unless you're a doctor and you're
I'm saying.
uh, I don't care. Yeah, so as long as I'm giving her money monthly, so I don't care. No. So then she didn't take too well. However, my uncles were just like, "Oh my God, you're so cool!" So every single time, yeah. So every time I go down to back home, I'm from the Eastern Cape. So every time I go back, I have to buy them something for being successful in radio, according to them. I still have to buy them a drink or two. So so the rest of the family has just been amazing. My grandmother absolutely loves it. She's never heard me on radio, but let's go for it, baby girl. So yeah,
No, also, also, uh, I have a question, right? I think because I've been in there, I'm obviously from Durban. Uh, I'm just curious. So like you be Xhosa, right? And then being in like Durban where they speak Zulu mainly. What is your experience? Because from what I've heard, right, is that if you are black, you have to speak Zulu if you're in Durban. Like as a toothpick experience, because I've been told like if someone's like from Congo or like Malawi, like you in Durban, you have to speak Zulu. Like I don't care.
you have to.
Yeah, is that been your experience?
No, not at all. First of all, and Zulu people, I think, in person. I promise you, it's the funniest community, especially on social media. We're always arguing and whatnot. No, I do respond. I'm not really good in Zulu. I do speak it somewhat well. However,
It's a bit similar, right?
it's a bit similar. However, yeah, harder but similar. No, we don't have the experience of having to speak Zulu. They also know not to enforce us to speak Zulu. Yeah. There's that like a respect, like that, okay, cool. Well, you fine. All right.
Yeah, I just wanted to know because I've heard so many stories. I was like, let me just ask. Because I used to when I was there, but I went to a church, olive tree. So, um, like I have so many conversations like that, and then they used to tease this one guy that some of the guys that were speaking Xhosa, and they were like, "No, you guys must speak Zulu to us." Um, so
Yeah.
this is what's the culture. That's like what was your experience? Uh,
No, not that's okay.
yeah, that's good. You posted something on LinkedIn recently, right? Well, 3 months ago, so maybe you forgot. Uh, but I think it's so valid, and I think you just probably you can talk us through what was your thought process. But you basically said,
Yeah.
you won't get promoted by being the best. You must be seen as the best. So if they don't see you, well, dot dot dot.
Ah.
You remember something like,
Well, yeah, I remember posting this. So I'm studying public relations. Oh gosh, I'm everywhere, I promise you. Like jack of all trades. jack of all trades. So I'm currently studying public relations, and what I've learned there is that anyone can be anything so long as you can fake it. Long as you can fake it, so long as you can speak the loudest, so long as you are the sweetest in the room, so long as you can tolerate and you can mountaintop conversation yourself through anything, you will be CEO in no minute.
Yeah.
So that's where that comes from, is that I've watched people in my community, in my workspace, get kind of like discarded in a way because they don't have mountaintop conversations, and they aren't seen because they're not making themselves seen. Um, they kind of expect that that person's just going to know that I'm here. You can be the hardest worker. You can get A's in at your desk. You can get the best of the best. But if you are not um, greeting people, it's the same thing as that term of being popular in high school, popular in school. You're only popular because how many people do you greet at the door, at the gate? How many people are you greeting? How many people are you saying, yo, what's up? Ha ha ha. How many people before you get to class have you made a 2-minute conversation with? And that's the mountaintop conversation. So it starts from a young age. If you don't have it, you don't have it. Okay, but you can definitely do it.
Yeah.
I don't have it because my face says otherwise, fortunately. So it's just something that I've learned over the years, is that if you are not seen, no matter how good you are,
Yeah.
and if you don't make yourself seen, no matter how good you are, you will never get that promotion.
That's so true. I think it's definitely because I've seen, especially in the creative industry, right? You'll have the best photographers, best videographers, and then they complain that they're not getting gigs. But who's seeing your work? I follow you. I see you.
You see
Who's seeing your?
that.
I mean, it's in every industry. Who's seeing your work? If you're not putting yourself out there, yes, you can do a post on Instagram, but are you emailing them? How are you like nagging people to see your work and give you the opportunity?
Like, forcing yourself spaces.
And it's somewhat what you did, right? When you went into DYR, it's like I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna put my, my time and effort into this space. So yeah, spot on. I think I can take to that because um I know I'm good at what I do. I just don't push it out as much, and I don't push myself into my. You sometimes expect people to come be like, "Hey, there's an opportunity, like take it," but the world don't work like that.
That reminds me of a sermon that TB Joshua,
Mm,
TD Jakes,
reject.
TD Jakes did, where he says he hates talented people
Mm,
because they have it. Therefore, they don't have to work at it, and they don't have to try, and they don't have to convince anyone. They don't have to convince themselves. They don't have to take advice. They don't have it. They don't have to. It's natural. They just wake up and it's, I can sing. I can do this. I can do that. I can run. I can be this. They don't have to try.
yes.
But then you get people who are passionate, right? And when you become passionate, that's when you are going to make yourself seen. You're going to try. You're going to learn. You're going to take the advice. You're going to seek people that are in the same space as you, that want to be in the same space as you. You want to be in the same space as them. So it's talent. So if you feel like you're not being seen in your space right now as a photographer, as a creator, and so whatnot, most of the time it's because it's talent. And because you have the talent, you don't have to try. And because you're not trying, you're not making yourself seen.
Well,
And that's it.
sure. That's crazy. I think that's why I started the podcast, right? Because starting the podcast was something that I've had a desire to do for a while. Um, but I prolonged it because I wanted to have a whole podcast studio, have a space, have the mics, the cameras, the works, and that type of thing. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna start. I'm gonna do it over online, grow the following, have like genuine conversations like this. I'm really enjoying this podcast. It's um like I think you being so blunt and being open and having raw, authentic conversations currently is like what you would want in this type of podcast. And my thing is like posting, like putting myself out there is like, okay, like put the time and effort, like reach out to people as much as possible, the people that with influence, the people that can give knowledge. And I think if I just waited for people to come to me, I was like, I waited for Andy to be like, Andy comes to me and be like, I want to be on your podcast. That's not gonna happen, you know. And you have to go put yourself out there. And I think in every situation, like you gotta put yourself out there and get those no's um before you get that big yes. Uh
Yes. Yeah.
like you've approached a bunch of brands, but then
Yes.
you got that final yes with G Star Raw. Like who the flip's gonna think you're gonna get G Star Raw? Like you're not gonna think that in the moment, but if you consistently put yourself out there, it'll happen. Someone's gonna
Bye. That's smart.
uh, yeah, so that's what's gonna happen. Um I think on this conversation, I wanna ask if there's someone out there, they're in the pits, but they have a desire to be the best at something or want to be a better person. What do you think they should be doing? How do you think they can get back up from being on the floor? Let's get back on our feet. Let's take this world, like grab it in our hands, take opportunities that we have. What advice would you give to?
I think the key word in it is the desire, is that you gotta want it. It's the when you have urgency, like you just said now, that you're not gonna wait anymore to have all these things to create the podcast. You're just gonna start.
Yeah.
It's the urgency, right? Is that's how everything starts. It starts with a mustard seed. It starts small and you get the biggest of the biggest trees, right? Every seed is small before it becomes the biggest tree. It really is. And then it's how you water, but at the same time, we gotta look at it's how you water, because even if you plant it in the wrong places, I don't know if you've ever seen on the middle of the highway
Yes.
and you get trees growing from concrete, like the most beautiful green trees. It's how you water it. So when you are in there and you are trying to figure it out, what it is that you want, you gotta want it. You have to have the desire. And then once you have the desire, look at look at what's around you that can assist you.
Yeah.
Look at who can help you. If there's no one who can help you, find a way whereby, okay, maybe I should remove myself from this situation, from my environment, because sometimes it's the environment that we grow up in and that we are in that really does, put a damper in our future and how we see things and where we want to go. Um, so I'm gonna use a cousin of mine for an example. Um, she now runs one of the biggest hospitals in Tata, and through the mere fact that she removed herself from her environment and she pushed, even though she was getting backlash from family, she was so no one was watering her seed, but she was just that I'm going to water the seed and I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And it is so scary
Yes.
because got no tools,
Mm.
but see. And now you have to go hunt and look for the tools and look for the tools. You don't know where to look. You don't know where to start. But if you move,
Yeah.
just move forward, however that looks, move forward, and the tools start coming to view. It is the scariest thing you'll ever do is when you focus on your passion and what you want to do. And unfortunately, when it comes to passion and doing what you want to do, it's always harder than most. It's always harder than just going for a job. That's how it is.
I can relate to the tools part because um when I moved out when I was 20, right? So I moved out my parents' place and I wanted to start doing media production more. And then I pick up the skill of digital marketing when I've worked for a company in house. So I was like, let me start my own marketing company. Now, when I moved out without getting clients, was only like a small job in the side, wasn't getting paid much. But when I put myself in that situation, people around me, I was like telling my story, and I've told my story to enough people where someone's like, listen, why don't you run my social media for my business? And it just took off from there where I got the next client, the next client, next client. And it wasn't coming from any connection that I've made prior to that. Like no one's like my friend group, whatever. It's just putting myself out there in this hard, harsh environment. And people love stories. They love investing into people that they see a desire, they see a drive. And like you said, if someone sees a drive in you and sees you motivated, they're gonna invest in you. But if you don't have that drive and ambition, and you come into someone and say, "Hey, I need help in this, whatever," and they don't see the drive, they're not gonna invest in you. They're like, "You're gonna waste my time and my money. I don't care." Yeah, I think people can take a lot from what you said. So hopefully someone gets up from the feed from what you've said, and they'll message you and be like, "Andy, thank you so much for that." Like, you've
Well, I mean, initially getting off your feet and trying to spark that amber again is hard. That's going to be hard too. But it's okay if you are in that position. You are fine. You're not the first to go through it. You're not the last. Even people who've already made it go through that same slump, that same crossroads, that same what am I going to be in the next 5 years? What legacy am I going to leave behind? That is all just human. That is so normal. It should actually just be okay.
yeah,
But yeah, drive.
yeah. Jordan Peterson says if you don't know where to start by like cleaning your room. And he says like that's the biggest start. Like people don't realize how much your mind is cluttered by your room being cluttered. So if you want to start and you don't know where to start, just clean up your room and take.
Clean up your room. You take it from there.
Yeah,
Literally. That's literally what it is. If you're feeling cluttered, if you're feeling crossroads, clean up the room, clean up your house, and then start all over again.
yeah, for sure.
And that's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, I think to end off, right, let's go with what's next for Andy James, right? What's coming up? I mean, we spoke about Gold Dinner, but anything that you're working on that you want to share? Yeah, what's next for Andy James?
I have started a business by mistake. Don't keep it ignorant. Also, it was literally by mistake. I was like, I went on TikTok and that's the glory of TikTok. I went on TikTok and I'm like, oh, this is how I grew my hairline. So the video had like over 2 million views or something.
Wow.
And um and they were like, oh no, are you selling? I'm like, no, I'm not selling it. And then a few months later they were like, okay, no, you have to sell now because we've asked you to sell. I'm like, bro, I'm not selling. And then okay, cool. Oh, this is the oil I'm using. So I said, oh, this is the oil I'm using. And they're like, okay, cool, we'd like to buy it. Thank you. And that's how I started the business. Literally,
So
them.
it's this oil like you found it and whatever.
Well, I created the oil myself. So I went natural. Yeah, so I went natural. I don't know if you remember the natural hair movement. I don't know if you were in that space. There was a natural hair movement sometime back, I think in 2018, 20
Yes, those
something.
more was I mean was bold.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was a whole natural hair movement back then. And I also chopped my relaxed hair off and grew my hair. And I went onto YouTube, see, and I learned about how to make organic oils and how to treat your hair, and all of this stuff and how to take care of your hair and 4B, 4A hair, whatever. So I learned all about all this about hair and I'd been using this oil for so long, created it, made it, used it, and it worked. Okay. So there was no doubt that it was working. And then I would cut my hair every year and just to see if it actually works. And it does. So I went on TikTok and I posted it and they were like, yes, absolutely. We want the oil. So I have been bombarded, abused by these people um to sell the oil. And now I'm going towards hair care. And that's one of the main reasons why I actually focus on public relations is to just know how to work with whatnot in whatever career I go to because I've noticed that I'm very much a everywhere person. Yeah.
So where can people find your products?
Uh,
Is there webs? Is there social? People.
and you can just find me on Instagram. Literally, it's Style Me Andy. Like I said, I was abused. Okay, I wasn't
If you
ready.
look into scale,
Uh,
I think scaling wise, from a business perspective, like a website and then driving traffic to the website and then conversions, right? And then relations can be on the website. If you can put a chat bot or FAQs on the website, then people can do that from there. But I think your DMs is going to be too much, and it's gonna. I think especially if you be out of it, there's so many people watching, and then there's 100 people even managing that relationship. Insane. So I think
it's insane. Oh gosh.
by
Yeah. So
want to do a website for you.
yeah. So I am working on a website.
There's Wix
So
that does it. Like you basically relate at the end. You have what else? The WordPress. There's AI generated websites now, but the only thing is you e-commerce. So by doing e-commerce, it's a lot more difficult building from scratch compared to just having a landing page. Um, yeah.
I hear you, but I don't have again. Like I'm that. If I can put money towards it, and somebody else do it, I am that person.
Yeah, I mean, it's the profit coming from the business and you're investing back into the business, which is fair.
Yeah. So I'll get the website up and going in the next 3 months. For now, it's just literally WhatsApp, but also my clientele is completely different to the normal everyday. My clientele is actually a normal everyday person, more less than
But to be honest,
they're not online people
your website needs to be up now because
now.
the trend is now. The audience is on 3 months from now, you don't know if it's gonna be there. So a lot of lists capitalize on what you have your audience capitalize now. Because like I grew both my pages. I have a TikTok page and Instagram and that's sorry on my personal journal the world and I have Capital GPT, which is this now. And when I took a break from my journal the world, everything like views went. And like I took a break because like I was getting closer to God and like I won't regret it. But if I knew that like, okay, what can I capitalize on this now? And if I had something to sell, capitalize it on it now. So if people are still commenting on videos like that, then try and push out something quickly where you can drive traffic to somewhere you can sell. Or even get like the database. So everyone that wants to buy from you, collect all the emails or the numbers and then
Yeah, so I've done that.
yes, that's perfect. Was it when you get that, it's an email chain, a WhatsApp broadcast, or whatever.
So yeah,
So,
yeah. So
that well,
for now, yeah. So for now, I have like a WhatsApp business. So like if you contact, you obviously get to the side of it. Mainly because so the main focus right now, yes, I definitely can. I'm going to capitalize on it, but here is the problem there to initially get off, right? So it's not slow in terms of like client and customer and selling. It's not slow at all. However, because oil making and hair product making and it's all organic, it is such a process. So that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. And I do have a web designer that I'm going to speak to. His name is Rowan. He's also based in Cape Town. He did my Femme magazine website. Oh, I'm also the creative director at Femme. So, so he did my magazine, and so I'm going to ask him to just help me out with this as well. But yeah, you're right. I should definitely capitalize and just get it all on right now. And I am taking emails. I am taking contact numbers. Everything is saved. Don't you worry.
yeah, I, I think it's just advice for not only you but for everyone. Like people don't really.
No, I need it. You know, yeah, I'm still a pen on paper type of person.
Yeah.
Even for my assignments. My husband bought me a whole laptop, but I'm still a pen on paper person. Like my lips, I kid you not, this,
Yes.
These are my assignments.
Those are amazing for like taking notes in meetings and that type of stuff. I love taking notes and like that. But when it comes to like work wise, everything needs to be like Google Sheets for like email, anything like that.
Oh my gosh, I'm like an Italian mafia.
Yeah.
It's all on here.
But
I know.
how are you adapting to AI?
Oh God, don't even. Don't even. Me and AI,
Well, like you're a person that says AI is Illuminati.
no, 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 no. I'm not against AI,
At
but I'm
least
against learning. Yeah, it's okay to get help from AI, but not learning. If you're learning from scratch and you're learning a new skill and you're learning a new theory, etc., don't do it through AI because it's you haven't been corrected at all. Like first, this girl, she keeps doing her assignments through AI. I'm like, you haven't learned anything.
Yeah, man, that's true.
No, I don't believe in AI in that sense in terms of teaching. But like, if you need
I
like
think you need
instant information,
business. I think adoption to business, adoption.
yeah, 100%.
Like you could
100%.
automate your whole process now, which is AI.
Oh, 100%. But I can't. I think I'm technologically. You get people who the loop is here.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sure your husband's good with technology, right? If he's
He he's literally a cybersecurity, so I
well,
always ask him to do
perfect. But yeah,
perfect. Now I ask him to do something else. Yeah.
thank you so much for being on the podcast, Andy. Guys, please make sure you follow Andy on all social media platforms. If you guys want a hair oil, reach out to her on Instagram DMs. Maybe there's a website. Maybe for the first step out, there's a website. Has a Yeah, but to be honest, I record a podcast and like the podcast is in like 1 to 3 days. So that's the scale I'm going for because I'm not trying to overthink it and do so much editing. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So make sure you follow on all platforms. Yeah, it was really amazing having you on the podcast. I learned a lot. I think people also learned and took from you. Hopefully we get you on the podcast later on, get an update on your business, your hair business, and see how things going. So yeah.
Oh, maybe I'll do a TED talk. How to grow your oil business in a year.
Yeah, how to scale a business from zero to more. Easy.
It was literally zero. It was zero. There was extra oil I had, and I had like some random bottles, and somebody was like, I will bring a Tupperware and I will put the oil in there. That literally, that's how I sold my first oil.
Liquid gold.
Yeah, it was literally, that's how I sold my first oil was through Tupperware. Somebody bought a Tupperware container.
Easy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Guys, make sure you like, you
Uh,
subscribe, you follow Andy.
Thank you. Bye.